Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right with your fasting routine, but the scale just will not budge? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. So many people hit that frustrating wall. So let's dive into why your go-to fasting method might be getting outsmarted by your own biology, and explore what some are saying is the key to finally breaking through.
So, you've been so diligent sticking to that popular 16-8 window. You know the one, fasting for 16 hours, eating for 8. It's supposed to be the gold standard, right? But if you're looking in the mirror and that stubborn fat hasn't moved an inch, well, it's probably not because you're failing. It's because your body is just incredibly smart and, well, adaptive.
This quote, wow, it really just gets right to the heart of the problem. The very strategy you're using to burn fat might be telling your body to do the exact opposite, to hold on to it for dear life. It's this biological puzzle, and it's why so many people get stuck. Okay, so let's get into the science behind this whole plateau thing. Why does our body fight back so hard against what feels like consistent, healthy restriction? Well, the answer lies in a really powerful survival mechanism that's been wired into us for thousands of years. This right here is the absolute crucial point. When your body detects a chronic energy deficit, like say fasting for 16 hours every single day, it doesn't think, oh great, time to burn some fat. No. It thinks, warning, famine ahead. And so it starts to conserve fuel by slowing everything down. It literally dims the metabolic lights. And to understand just how dramatic this response can be, we can actually look back at a famous study. The researcher Ansel Keys conducted what's known as the Minnesota starvation experiment, and it showed just how fiercely the human body defends itself against what it thinks is long-term starvation. The results were just staggering. Subjects in the experiment experienced a metabolic rate drop of up to 40%. Now, that's an extreme example for sure, but it perfectly illustrates the power of adaptive thermogenesis. When your body senses a long-term crisis, it slams the brakes on your metabolism hard. Okay, so if 16 hours can put the brakes on our metabolism, what's actually happening inside our bodies hour by hour when we fast? Let's walk through the timeline to see where the magic is supposed to happen and where it can stall. Think of your body's energy stores like a kitchen. You've got the pantry, the fridge, and then way out in the garage, the deep freezer. So for the first 12 hours or so, you're just emptying the pantry, running on stored sugar or glycogen from your liver. Your fat stores are barely even touched. Then, around 16 hours, you can hit that potential stall where your body might start conserving energy. But according to this theory, the real action starts when you push past that all the way towards the 36-hour mark. And this brings us to the core idea: unlocking that deep freezer. This isn't about long-term starvation. It's about triggering a short-term but really powerful hormonal cascade that fundamentally changes the fuel source your body decides to use. And this is where it gets interesting, because what some call a panic moment actually starts to work in your favor. When you push past that 16 or 24-hour mark, your body hasn't had time to adapt and slow everything down yet. Instead, it perceives a temporary emergency, and its response is to flood your system with hormones that mobilize energy and fast. And the first superstar in this hormonal response is human growth hormone, or HGH. Research shows that after a 24 to 36-hour fast, HGH levels can just skyrocket, with some studies showing an increase of up to 2,000% in men. I mean, that is a massive signal to your body. So HGH basically acts like a shield, telling your body, hey, don't you dare burn precious muscle for fuel. At the exact same time, your body releases adrenaline and norepinephrine. And these are like the keys that go to those really stubborn fat areas, the gut, the hips, and they unlock those fat cells demanding that they release their energy. But here is the crucial part. You can't live in this 36-hour state. If you do it too often, it'll just trigger that same metabolic crash we talked about. So the solution proposed is something called the Pulse Protocol. And you should think of it like a strategic sprint, not a daily grinding marathon. And when you look at it side by side, it really makes sense. A daily 16-8 fast can signal a chronic problem, which can lead to a lowered metabolism. A periodic 36-hour fast, on the other hand, signals a temporary emergency. It completely bypasses the body's adaptation response and instead spikes those fat-burning hormones. You're not just changing the calories, you're changing the signal. So the protocol is basically a 3-part cycle. First, you sprint with a 36-hour fast, maybe once every couple of weeks. Second, you refeed generously on your non-fasting days. This tells your thyroid gland, hey, the famine is over, it's safe to keep that metabolic fire burning hot. And finally, some light movement after you eat helps your body put all those great nutrients to good use. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground. Let's pull this all together and talk about what this actually means for you, including some very, very important safety considerations. This is definitely not a strategy to be taken lightly. The most crucial takeaway is this. It's not just about eating less. It's about changing your internal chemistry. The real goal is to become metabolically flexible, to shift your body from being what's called a sugar burner to a much more efficient fat burner that can finally tap into its own vast reserves. Now, please listen, this is critical. A 36-hour fast is a significant biological event. It is not for everyone. It is absolutely not recommended for anyone with a history of disordered eating or for women who are pregnant or breastfeeding. And it is essential to talk to a healthcare provider before trying anything like this, especially if you have any underlying medical conditions like diabetes.
And that brings us right to our final thought. This whole approach is really built on one fascinating question. What if the secret to overcoming a weight loss plateau isn't just about managing calories, but about strategically managing the signals we send to our own bodies? It's a pretty powerful idea to think about.